G'day there guys, the voice that lulls you to sleep here. It's your man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's episode, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user GirlFieri223. Titled, Would I be the a-hole if I stopped baking cookies for the retreats that have come to expect them? I work for a quilt shop part-time, and once a month we have quilting retreats. Over time, I've started to work more at the retreats, and it's come to the point where I cook for the retreats, and the owners reimburse me for ingredients, with the exception of the batch of chocolate chip cookies that I usually make for free. Not to brag, but I make some damn good chocolate chip cookies. The recipe is secret, and it took me years to get it the way that I want it. The cookies have become a staple of the retreats, and the owners have started telling people about the cookies to convince them to buy a retreat spot. I don't get paid for baking these cookies, and I don't even get reimbursed for the ingredients to bake them. I started doing it just because I liked baking them and giving them to people. It was fun at first, but now when I walk into the shop on retreat times, I get bombarded with, "Oh, did you bring cookies? Where are the cookies?" I can't tell you the last time I got a, "Hi, how are you?" from any of the retreaters or the other staff that work solely on the retreats. Half of the people who come to the retreats don't even know my name. They call me Cookie Lady, despite being reminded of my name several times. This month I've got a friend in town, and I told the owners that I couldn't cook for this month's retreat. When one of the other retreat staffers heard this, they said, "We will miss your cookies." Not, "We will miss you," or even, "Have a good time with your friends." I feel like at this point my entire worth to them is placed in the damn cookies, and I don't even want to bake them for them anymore. I love baking, but part of that love is experimenting with other stuff, and the one time I brought brownies instead of cookies, I got bitched at. I feel forced into making them, and it's not fun anymore. I don't even get paid to make them, but suddenly it's expected of me, and it gets me nothing but stress and hurt feelings. So, would I be the a-hole if I stopped baking them and just told people to deal with it? I don't think so, no. I think you've chosen the right thing to do in this situation and just step away from it. That's absolutely admirable, and I tip my hat to you for that one because that takes a lot of guts to do. I really do think they should just deal with it, or you should be paid and compensated for your work, because it's unacceptable the route that it's been taking. So you would not be the a-hole, no. Not the a-hole. You were doing them a favor for a while, and that's commendable. But if you feel like there are other ways that you'd like to spend your time, energy, and money going forward, that's totally reasonable. You don't owe them anything. Hell, even if they had been paying you for everything, and they were all very friendly and respectful, it would still be reasonable for you to decide that you simply didn't want to do it anymore. It's not like you were under contract or something. Completely agree with this. I wanted to add though, I think it's important to have a conversation with anyone of concern as to why OP feels the way she feels. As many times having a calm adult conversation / back and forth can smooth everything out. Sometimes people are dense and don't realize how they're hurting someone, but there isn't necessarily maliciousness there, just cluelessness. OP, have a conversation with the staffers. Let them know how they've been making you feel. Their reaction will be pretty telling in that either they will feel awful and try to make amends, or they might be ungrateful dicks, and then maybe it's time to move on. Not the a-hole. They are taking advantage, and it seems that all you amount to with others is the cookies. They don't care that you want to cook something else, it's just, give me my cookie fix. I feel a little sad because you seem tired and emotionally drained. Hugs if you want them. Thank you. I'm glad I posted. I was afraid that I was overly sensitive and that I would be petty to withhold cookies. It just isn't fun to bake them anymore, and you're right. It feels like all I amount to is a walking batch of cookies. Not the a-hole. I had the same thing happen to me with my cookies at gaming tournaments. Once I had to come straight from work and hadn't had time to bake any, and they ridiculed me so much, I ended up just leaving. One thing I did notice worked later was asking why they felt entitled to them, when I wasn't getting reimbursed for ingredients or the hours I sunk into baking literally hundreds of cookies. That put things in perspective for them. Bottom line, don't let people ruin something you love. You deserve to be appreciated for your kindness, and I hope you enjoy your retreats. Update. It's been more than a year since my original post, which I know is quite a long time. It seems a bit silly now that I was so consumed and frustrated by something so small as cookies, but here we go. As a number of the comments suggested, I ended up talking to the owner of the shop and telling her that I wasn't going to bake cookies for the retreats anymore. I told her I felt belittled and disrespected by her behavior and that of the retreaters. Her response was basically, they expect the cookies. What do you expect me to tell them? They're not going to want to come to retreats anymore. You should have never baked them at all. This whole issue is going to be bad for business. I went home feeling completely invalidated. She completely gaslit me. I read and reread some of your comments multiple times and decided to stand my ground on this. She didn't threaten to fire me or anything. Not that she could have, she needed me, but she continued to guilt-trip me and try to manipulate me into baking again. She even had some of the retreaters come to me offering me money to bake for the retreats. At this point, it wasn't about the pay. It was how the people were treating me. I refused and started applying to other jobs because I was sick of the environment. The thing is, I'm actually a licensed pharmacist. I was working for minimum wage at a quilt shop because I was burnt out in an oversaturated and overworked field. I was depressed because I was a doctor of pharmacy, 8 years of college completed, and I didn't feel mentally fit for working in that field because of my mental health. I worked for this quilt shop for a year. I learned some things and got a break and regained some of the mental health I lost. This cookie debacle was the push I needed to regain my self-worth and go back to the field that I wanted to be in. Within a month, I found a job as a pharmacist at a federal prison. I loved it from my first day. I've been there a year now, and I love every day of it. My job has meaning, my co-workers are awesome, and every day is a new experience. It took a few months, but I got my baking mojo back. I'm known throughout the prison by my actual name, and people come to visit the pharmacy for some cookies, or whatever baked goods I decide upon, and they stay for conversation. I found a job I love and a group of people who appreciate my baking and don't use me as a cookie slave. Thanks, Reddit. You guys are awesome. Baking for co-workers is such a weird thing. I used to bake a lot when I was single. It was a hobby and I had the time for it. So naturally, I brought my goods to work since I didn't want to eat 3 dozen cookies by myself. Everybody loved them, and I was happy until one day I overheard some co-workers talking about how it was weird that I baked so much. Weird? Maybe because I was a 27-year-old guy at the time? I was surprised and annoyed. If it's so weird, why are you stuffing your face with my weird cookies? After that, I was like, F this, and completely stopped bringing baked goods to work. Of course, those same co-workers asked why, and I told them I just didn't think it was appropriate anymore, and that was that. Anyway, I love the outcome to this story, and wish you all the best in your baking and non-baking endeavors. I'm sorry your workmates didn't appreciate your baking. I definitely would've. I also bake a lot for workmates in normal times, and they're always super grateful and pleased. My office manager bakes the best banana bread I have ever had, and occasionally I walk into work to see 2 dozen mini loaves. It's like Christmas on those days. Then she messages my kids to make sure I bring some home to them. We do make sure to tell her how grateful we are. She also makes us brownies, chili, broccoli, cheese soup. I bring in chocolate every week as my contribution, but she loves that. I'm happy for you. I know how you feel, as I'm also a baker, and actually closed my at-home baking business because people reacted the same way. Good for you for standing up for yourself and finding your mojo. Thank you so much, and I hope that you still love baking despite the awful people, or that you can get your mojo back too. There are awesome people out there that won't behave so terribly. You just have to find them. Reading your original post is so nuts. I've met some incredible bakers in my life and workplaces, and have never heard of someone being shoehorned into being expected to always bake, let alone baking one thing or else. Sounds like that shop just had a really toxic environment going on overall. You were smart to recognize it. Glad you were happy in your new job and enjoying experimenting with baking again. Posted by user, Am I Being Punked? Titled, Am I the a-hole for being upset that my partner wanted to go on vacation the week I was expected to give birth? I was writing the situation, but realized how it could come across as confusing without adding this for background info. Adam, my now ex-fiancé, and I met 8 years ago when we moved to country A for studies. Adam moved to country B, where he and his best friend Troy are from, to go to work, and we began a long-distance relationship. I moved to country C to be able to work somewhere close to both him and our families, who retired and live in country A. Eventually, I moved to country B to be with Adam, and this is when I became pregnant. The incident I'm asking judgment for. For a multitude of reasons, we decided I'd have the baby in country A. Our plan was for him to settle things in country B, fly to country A to be there for the birth, then all of us would make our way to move to country C or country D, where I'm from. One day, I got a call from Adam saying Troy had invited him to go on vacation for a few days, somewhere they'd have to fly to. I thought that was cool. And from his excitement, I thought this would be before he would fly down to be with me for the birth of our child. Nope. He said it would be during the week I was expected to give birth. When I looked at him, I knew he wasn't casually mentioning this as in, oh hey, Troy thought this would be cool. He was imploring me, seeking my permission. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing, so I hung up and angry texted him instead. Here is where I may be the a-hole. I was so mad he was even considering not being there for our baby's birth that I just thought F it, and booked the flight for him. Adam was furious because 1, Troy was going to pay for the flight, and 2, apparently I got the dates wrong. The plan was really for them to be on vacation for 4 weeks. 1 week before the birth, the week I was due, then 2 weeks after. When he let that slip, I lost it, but he insisted I was overreacting. Troy was also upset at my reaction and said he had said things would push through only if I was okay with the plan. Adam's brother and sister-in-law told him off for even mentioning the invite to me and said he had to be there for the birth. Adam ended up not going and even tried to refund the booking. To this day, Adam insists he wasn't an a-hole because he was only casually mentioning the offer and was going to turn down the invite, though I know without a doubt that he was asking my permission at the time. He also points out that I ended up giving birth 2 weeks after expected. This happened a year ago, and though it wasn't the biggest issue that broke our relationship, it was a major turning point. At the time, I asked for him to see a therapist with me, but he hated the idea and we never went. I just want judgment to know if my hormones were acting up and if what he was asking for was okay. Edit. I went through my chats and I saw I said, if you're not going to be there for the birth, I won't put you on the birth certificate. I wasn't actually going to do something that awful, but it was awful of me to say that. I know I overreacted, but I just wanted to know if I was the a-hole for being angry at all. And edit to add, for reasons still unclear to us, he had to wait outside of the OR, so I ended up going through the last 6 to 8 hours of labor and the unexpected CS alone. He was the one who brought me to the hospital and never left until it was time to go home. I think honestly, your anger was justified in this situation, and you're not the a-hole for feeling the feelings that you did feel, because he did plan and was trying to get your permission to leave you alone at the birth of your child. That's not exactly something that you should be okay with, and I don't think anyone would really be okay with it. Especially when you don't have anything, between you and your partner. There's no anger, there's no resentment. It looked like a normal relationship until he's like, hey, so I'm just gonna go on this plane and different country and not gonna be there for the birth of my kid. That's just really odd to me, and I can't blame you for reacting the way you did. Not the a-hole. A 4-week vacation over the span of your due date? What in the absolute hell? Maybe buying the ticket was a weird overreaction, but the fact that you didn't do anything more hurtful or drastic is to be commended. Aside from abandoning you during a not small medical experience, did he not care about meeting his kid? Not the a-hole, for real. Yeah, I cussed him out at the time. I honestly know I responded immaturely. It was along the lines of, I am so tired of this disappointment, just book the damn flights already, etc., etc. He deserved it. Even if he was planning on turning it down, and it doesn't sound like he was, why stress you out with the idea in the first place? No matter what, mentioning it to you was a dick move. Yeah, that struck me as well. I think in one of our many discussions, he said he didn't think it would be that big of a deal. Updates. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who took the time to read and comment on the original post. I don't know how to describe it, but it was a huge relief to realize that I was indeed being gaslit, and that it was reasonable to expect him to not even consider missing out on the birth. In a way, it gave me a sense of closure to a situation I was unsure of. Most of the questions I got, through comments and DMs, were about wanting to know more about the nature of our breakup. As I said before, the incident I asked judgment for was one of many things we went through, but basically, there was a lot of deception committed, and the last straw concerned financial abuse. I'm sorry for being vague, I just really do have a hard time talking about it. Maybe in the future, but just for the sake of gaining outside perspective, I'll ask for judgment regarding those particular situations as well. On to the actual update. Perhaps it's the pregnancy hormones, but I've been going back and forth trying to figure out what's best for my children and what's fair to their dad. I have felt extremely guilty that my daughter misses out on having a dad, and that my ex doesn't get to enjoy this precious time in her life. The idea of him only being able to see his babies in the summertime really does weigh on me. Even though I broke up with my ex because I thought it was the best thing for myself and for my children, I feel like I owe it to our family to give him another shot, when I'm ready. Since the breakup, X has been in therapy, and we recently have started online couples counseling. First session happened last night, and it was honestly really great. We've agreed that when we're ready, we'll give this relationship 100% honest effort, not hold the past over each other's heads, and try to be better at listening and accommodating each other's needs. I personally am working on handling my reactions so I can respond to situations maturely. X has also claimed to rid himself of vices and is working on prioritizing our family and providing us stability. Oh, I also told him about the original post. He at first dismissed everyone's judgment, but was able to admit it was wrong of him to put that stress on me in the first place. Also, he won't be there for the birth this time around, but solely because of the pandemic and travel restrictions in place. Koopa Trooper says, I remember your post, and if my husband suggested a trip during and after the birth of our child, I don't think I could forgive him. I worry a little about your reasoning for getting back together with him. Sounds like it's more for your daughter than you. Parents who are unhappy and fight all the time actually causes more stress for their children than if they just split up. Just something to keep in mind. If you decide to get back together with him, please make sure it's for you and not for your kids. Good luck with everything. SFLR, thanks for your time. Then and now, in reading my post. Yes, I fully admit the kids are the main factor here. If it wasn't for them, I think I would have gotten over my ex's transgressions. But the cause of our breakup affected our whole family. I didn't want my children to live a life of instability and recklessness. At the same time, now that my ex has taken steps to change and turn his life around, I feel like not allowing him to be a parent and make our family whole again would be selfish. Every time I think about choosing myself and a potentially happier love life, I'm acknowledging I'd be putting my own needs and wants first. Thank you for your insights and for your words of caution. I won't re-enter the relationship unless I feel like this is something that will work out and end up being the better choice for all of us. Edit. Oh, and thanks for your well wishes as well. Take care. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.